Welcome back to a very late episode of Made Up of Wires, where we are decompiling SanDisk 4GB memory stick Duo, Pro Duo even. You know, all the Pro PSP players. Yes, the memory stick was used in prosumer camcorders. Not even prosumer, really, just camcorders. 4 gigs wouldn't get you very far, at least not these days. We are gonna be working on Castlevania Symphony of the Night, of course. Hey, roaming. Good to have you back. It is late, I know. Let's do basically the same thing that we did yesterday. We'll look again at one of the 2 remaining sword functions, and then we'll come back and get some more Richter stuff done. If you're not familiar with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation project, go to symphony.z.dev. You can find that up here, and you can learn more. And you'll find a link to GitHub and a link to the source code that we've decompiled, as well as a link to GitHub as well. So yesterday we did one of the bigger methods for Richter. I did mention, though, I do want to look at the last 2 sword familiar functions. See if we can make any progress on one or both of those. And then we'll get back to Richter. Happy Yom Kippur to anybody who, oh, I need to tell them I'm not a human, who might be celebrating. I don't celebrate Yom Kippur, but my kids have off today, so my schedule's a little funny. All right, so I think we're going to do the same thing as yesterday, primarily looking at the PSP version, see if there's anything obvious here that may be different. I did go through this yesterday, and there were some register issues. I think that was the biggest thing on the PSP, and so we could try to map out which variables are being used by which registers are being used by which variables. Usually it should stay relatively static. I do remember that when I copied this over, the PlayStation version broke pretty significantly. So I do want to see where that might be. So I'm gonna do this a slightly different way. Usually I would hold this in and do a diff. Oh, but somebody told me about the 3-way diff. I could try that as well. Let's try that. Let's open a 3-way diff. We're going to save this. And then I'll bring in the PSP version. All right, and so we have, the big thing is, it looks like a type difference. So let's check that. Must be something in the context. So we have that as a sine 32 on the PlayStation version and a vector. So let's make that a vector. And how does that affect things? It's a little worse, but not terrible. It's probably worse, honestly, because of symbols that are different. Because now we're calculating offsets into this particular thing. I'm not getting a third diff. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so these are all going to be just the symbol names. It'll be a symbol name plus an offset instead of... So that's actually not anything really too concerning. 157 is where our problem is and remains. Let's look at this 07C. I think we might have a different definition for this, so let's go check that. Yeah, so the definition that we currently have, we actually have two of them, but this should be a 0.16, so let's make that change. And that will screw this up a little bit. Not too much. Oh, Roaming says he's working on some geometry. Functions that work given a point in an ellipsis. An ellipsoid. Find the distance to the closest edge. Those are fun. So if you draw a tangent line, right? That's so what point on the outside has a 90-degree angle with the current point? That's how you solve that, I think, right? In practice, how you do that, I don't remember. My son would be able to tell you. Not me. All right, so that gets rid of the load half macro, which is good. Load half is when we need to force some stuff that we don't really want. And actually, I think that fixed the stuff on 155. It did. So that's a positive development. Let's fix that over on the PSP as well. And what does the PSP look like? 1580, we're still at 1580, no difference. So I think the next thing to do really is to go through and start documenting these registers. And that's going to be a slightly slow process, but we'll see if we can get through it. Unfortunately, all of these down here are ephemeral. So we can't do anything there. 219. 219, we do have a var S7, which is being... should be S3. What's being assigned is S4. So var S7 is S3, and then I think our I is S5. So I should be S4, bar S7 should be S3. I'm gonna move these into their own lines. Let's go find Prim. Prim had some issues. I know it was getting switched back and forth. 208. So this is being used as S4 here. It's possible that this isn't usually my style to add a new variable kind of in the middle here. I'm not sure what I was thinking there. It seems fine. It's getting the correct variables ultimately. And actually the S3 and S4 are using the correct variables as well. So it's the only wrong thing is that it's been given the wrong register allocation to begin with, and not much we can do about that. 200 is Prim. Prim we want to be S5, but it's S0. And this is actually maybe a big hint. There may be a second Prim. S5 is used here. Here's our S0. So 141. That's just chosen randomly. Let's get back to where this was. S0 and S5. So we want S5 for this Prim. And again, that it might be something else. Let's look at the first time we use it. Here on line 164. Okay, it's being the same. Use the same. It's not till up here, so 61. Yeah, these are all ephemeral. I almost wonder if these are vectors as well. That would possibly affect the PlayStation more than the PSP. So let's try that. C4. And let's see if anything else is using that right now. So this is pre-declared. And the issue is this D0, even though vectors are 32 bits for each field, they pad themselves out to 16 bytes. So if anything is using that D0, we know automatically that it can't be that. Or it's a different struct, and yeah, something is using that D0, which is a bummer. So it can't be a vector. It could be a different struct that doesn't have the padding. Yeah, and I have the spec 3 here that I think, trying to do that same thing with. Okay. Let's look at last. And this is kind of a funny, this 170. We're copying the next value into the previous node and basically doing a struct copy. Let's see, that's around line 170. And yeah, there is a bunch of issues here. So we do have S0 being used here instead of S3. S0, did we have figured that out yet? No. So I'm going to mark last as S0. It does look like, no, next should be S0, sorry. We'll mark that. And then prim is still S5. What is last going to? Just a stack pointer, that's fine too. I don't think there's any change that needs to be done there. So it does look like that is a separate variable. It almost seems like what I would want to call prim is probably something else. Well, I don't know, maybe not. The S0 makes me think that it's declared earlier. We have another instance of S5 and RS5 93. That should be prim. Nope. Yes. So let's fix that. This gets to assigned to S5. And S0, do we have S0? Yes, next. That's should be fine. But then what is getting set here is actually, I change all these. They should remain prim. And so then these remain the same, and then I think that's fine. And you better know better, slightly worse. Let's look at this section. This is where we just were looking. So, I mean, the variables are being used consistently. We just have the wrong ones, wrong registers. And I feel like the hard ones are these were kind of intermixed in here. You have S4 and S5 being used for different things. Is X0? This is being used, and we need these individual values because they are used in the middle here. Let's look at temp S1, 206. I'm just going to do a few more of these and see like where S3 and S4 are, if they're used elsewhere, and could we be reusing those as well. 141, not related. Uh, 195. No, I was looking at the wrong thing. We want S2 and S1, and those are being used the same way. All right, let's see S3s. S3 looks fine. S4 looks fine. Slow going. All right, so here's one that does not look fine. S5 on 193. S5 is prim. And when we come down here to 211, so this is probably next. And maybe that's the issue. Is that and did that help a lot? It helped a lot. So this is a long function. It's possible that all the errors that we have left are immediate values, and it looks like it. So I think that was it. Let's check that on PlayStation. Looks good on the PlayStation. And this one's gonna be a little trickier, I think, to integrate, but we'll see. So yeah, sometimes trying to find little issues like that is hard, but it's mostly nothing to it but to do it. I'm gonna grab this without any of the variables and just try to figure out which ones I need. From the compiler. Now we have a function that has been renamed. Need a declaration. All right, we got it. So another one that has been around for a long time. Didn't get to the end, and now it's there. Only one function left in the sword familiar. And both of these so far, today and yesterday, have been PSP compatible as well. Not, like I would say, it's not my focus, but if I can get it, that's great. Let's grab this last one. I'm not going to spend as much time on this one because I know that there are pretty significant issues with this one. Yeah, and there's a lot of globals as well. I was reading through like some of the just online discussion about the sword familiar and what people have like ascribed to its behavior, and is the PSP version of this done? I'm looking at the right thing. PSP looks perfect. I'm looking at the one we just did. All right, so too many variables. Let's see if we can get rid of some of those. I forget what I was saying earlier. So yeah, we have relatively few variables here, which is surprising. So it's going to be getting rid of a lot of these. Let's look at where this function is called. It's possible that this is not even a that there's no second arg here. That would not surprise me. Okay, so there is a second arg. And let's look at some of these variables then. And why do we have so many when the original did not? Starting with S0. S0 we're calling S4. Or our function's compiling it to S4. That's on line 138. Nothing we can do about that one. Let's see if there's any other uses of that. Nope. Okay. S1. S1 ours is S5, same thing. Nothing that we can do about that. And then S2, and those are the only three explicit variables. And that's going to be in that same section, S6. So everything else is seems like it's just being used from the stack, maybe? I don't know. That's weird. Well, let's find where this prim is being used. Oh yeah, these are strange. These are strange. Okay, so why do I have this? This is not a real variable. And so maybe getting rid of some of these will just help. I don't know. We'll see. So we have this big scratch pad struct. And I'm going to try to use that as much as possible. But we might not be able to. 72, I see that it looks like A2 is being used directly. Oh, never mind. A2 is not an arg. I was thinking that it was an argument to this function, but that's not correct. So how many of these are actually being used? So we do have V. On 256. This looks like it's just a direct assignment. So I don't think that this is being used. It would be nice to not have a variable there, but I don't think we get that choice. All right, and then 154, 155, and 156 are the other cases of this. And my guess is the same thing, is these aren't actually being used. This is just extremely terse. I'm not sure why these aren't signed 32 pointers. That helped a lot as well. The ordering here is off, though. Let's look at the decomp. So M2C ended up doing this the same way. I'm going to get rid of these load words. Let's look at how this global is defined. It's not here. Looks like it's in the context that it's defined as a 0.16. Oh, that makes sense. Often 0.16s are packed into 32-bit values in the SDK. So I think that that's reasonable. Here it's being defined as a signed 32, but I do agree with the idea that it's a 0.16. So we don't need to load the word, though. Can't we cast it as a signed 32? Maybe not. Yeah. Okay, so load word is fine there. Alternatively, we could just make this a signed 32, even though it's being treated as a 0.16. Let's see. we're loading various parts of it, so it's not quite correct that way. But that did clear up the stack, which is good. So I think that's a reasonable change. I don't think much is gonna happen, but let's see what the PlayStation thinks. Oh, PlayStation was very happy about that. We got another 2% on there. And I'm just gonna remind myself what the PlayStation issues are. There's a no-op here on 135. The no-op is in the branch delay slot. So basically this is saying, I'm gonna jump to this location. The original was, I don't have anything better to do. This one is saying, I'm gonna load this 1F80 regardless. Which could mean that value is being used later. And I'm trying to see. I've lost my place here. This 520 versus 51. See what are we doing at those locations? Yeah, and everything else is fine. Oh, but we do have this load upper immediate on 148 into the AT register. And that is that almost makes me think that this is being done outside of this loop, but it can't be. All this scratchpad stuff makes these decomps. Oh yeah, a lot of times we don't even get anything. We just get M2C errors because M2C doesn't understand the GTE instructions. So let's go back to the PSP and look at that section down there. Okay, so the first thing I see is that the offset here is wrong. We're storing this to offset 0 as opposed to offset 28. Offset 28 is... so varsp is a macro that I created, basically typecast this. So I'm saying SSP2I times 8. And what it seems like it is not I. Oh, but something we don't have yet. So we'll call that unknown 28. And there's a better way to do this, and I thought about that, maybe I would change how this was being done, but yeah, so we're doing this calculation for V0, but then using offset 28. Let me look at the varsp macro. So it's like we're getting a pointer. And then indexing into that pointer 28. I'm gonna do this, not what I think is correct, but so I need to take a reference to this, cast it, and then go to offset 28. That gives me the 28 there. I mean, it's slightly better, but I don't know if that is significantly better on the PlayStation. Really strange, though. I think that probably cleaned up some of the other stuff as well. No, I can't follow this at all. So the ore on 137 is actually this. Instead of unknown 24, it's unknown 28, or unknown 28, it's unknown 24. And is that the last? No, not the last thing. A little closer though. While that works, I don't necessarily like what's happening there. We have another scratch pad load. This almost seems like we're pulling out this reference, the 66C reference, outside of the loop. There's some issues with that, possibly. Oh, and then there's some math missing. Let's figure those out. Those may be related to GTE macros that are missing, and could actually be much simpler than some of the other things. So the way to figure these out is trying to determine what. So we should be doing the shift right, which is the divide by 4, but then we're multiplying by 4 again and adding 8. And is that to the result of this? And where is the lookup in all this? I'm going to total with this a little bit. So the result here is a a reference. So what are we doing? Let's look at this. So this also looks like a point. So there should be a load word. I don't think that's going to change any instructions, but there is, so the offset that we're getting, let's try adding the, my guess is that there is either a second index here that's missing, or the struct is of a larger size. The So I think the type of this array is probably wrong. Let's look down below here. Yeah, because we're gonna get this over and over. I'm gonna try increasing this by like making it quads. That doesn't change anything. It just changes the scale here. So what else? What other options do we have? We're just gonna get errors there. I did change some things here. Let's check those changes on the PSP. A little worse. That's okay. This is the last I'll do in this area, and then we'll go stop poking around and get some work done at Richter. 209 is where I want to be. This does really illustrate, though, how much easier the PSP is when it's not being overridden. So we do get the same add and shift left. So let's look at the decomp there. Finding it is going to be the hardest part. So we're kind of at the top of this first big loop. So when we see this 1000 here, that is actually an address, and that address is the scratch pad. So that's what this SSP2 is. I is the I field, which is at offset 0, which starts at this 1000. So we're going to divide that by 2 or shift by 2 to the right. This is the check basically to if that division resulted in a negative number, just the way that the hardware works. So you don't have to worry about that. That's what the compiler puts in. Could it be a mod? I didn't think about that. Let's try a mod instead. I think overall that's worse. I'm going to stick with the divide. And then what is... there's a multiply by 14, or, sorry, multiply by 20. Divided by 2 is a multiply by 10. Sorry. The second shift Roaming's pointing out this might be a two-dimensional array. I think you're correct. So let's put that outside. Yeah, but then we don't get the shift in the correct place. The add 20 down here does get added. V0, V1. Shifting left by 2. There. So I'm gonna pull out. Nah, I think I'm gonna be done. And we made a little progress on that one. Not where I wanted it to be. But it just seems like the scratch pad stuff. We don't have to do a lot of stuff in the scratch pad. I might actually pull this out. I was trying to use the struct because I thought that might make it easier, but it might just be complicated things. It would be nice, so there's no like scratch pad idea on a portable build. It would be nice if it was using the same struct and had a well-known memory layout, but I don't know if that's important either. Excuse me. Need more caffeine. Let's look again. So we're loading. My guess is a 32-bit value. Dividing that 32-bit value by 2, which I think gets us here. And then taking that 32-bit value and multiplying it by 20. And then using that to index into this array. So that does seem like a 10 half word but that's, I mean, ultimately that's M2C's interpretation of what's happening, not necessarily what is happening. In this, the +4 here. That makes me think. Oh, that's the index. That's the index into the second part. Okay, so am I understanding? Am I figuring this out? I don't know. Let's can't let go though. I don't think the divide by 4 is necessary. It might be sacrilege, and I think that this is going to be 0. 209. Oh yeah, we're just missing so that let's look at this array. And that's in BSS, unfortunately. There is another function that uses it, and this is how it's being used. Kind of an odd. So this is treating it as a 0.16. There's only 2 of them. That does somewhat align with the divide by 4. So divide by 4 while you're less than 16. That's still going to be 1 through 4 though. So maybe it's not divide by 4. Could it be divide by 8? And then nope, divide by 4 is correct. Just add 0 and then shift left is what's throwing me off. Maybe this is divide by 4 and then a mod 4. And then we have to add what? Yeah, something else is going on here that it's not. I'm not quite understanding. so let's continue on. What if we made this a 0.16 array? Is it gonna break anything? Surprisingly, not as much as I would have thought. I'm gonna pull out a variable. I know that there is not one here. That'll just help me understand a little better. The P0 might be fine. Nah, we'll make it a sin 32. So this is just for my own understanding, trying to break up this line. This is something I'll do. So I know it's not the way that it is, but I want to try to break this up into as small of pieces as I can. And from that, can I then tell what is missing? So if we say x equals ssp2i, and then s divided by equal 4, and then x times equal 4. We're going to get these moves in between, but that's okay. I know that the moves are going to go away. And then what we're left with then, so this is our shift, we need to add V0 and it's almost like adding the value prior to the multiplication to the multiplication. But what good is that? And I don't have a way to get this SSP value twice. Maybe I do. I think it would load it though. So there's some. I think I get an extra load. Yeah. There's some extra. So what are we even doing here? We're clamping down and then doing the multiply by 4. So this works in GCC. I'm going to try it here. Is this not going to let me put it in line? No. Okay, I'm gonna put this aside for the moment. And we'll come back another day and see if we can finish this off. Whatever I had was a little worse. I'm not even gonna save. We'll come back to those. And then go back to Richter. We got one. So one more function left for sword. Let's go back to the Richter boss fight. We'll get one of those done as well. I'm going to clean and then build. And we'll see what's going on. A little bummed that I didn't get that last one, but it's super close. All the GTE stuff actually looks fine, which is good to see. We don't do necessarily a lot of scratch pad related stuff. So it's unfamiliar. I'm going to choose one kind of in the middle. Grab this one here. Something that's not too long. See where this is. Looks like there's a duplicate here. That's fine. I'm okay with that. So let's get this started. We'll use the Richter implementation and then go from there. So we're going to ignore everything that was put there. We have two globals to figure out. Unsigned 8 array. And another one. All right, so symbols is the big issue, and so we're going to have all the same things basically. We do have player and we have Rick, so we have to be careful. We can't just use one or the other. 41 is Rick. No, it is actually not. Yes, it is. Z priority, yes, is coming from Richter. Is that the only Rick we have in here? 35. Oh, these are all going to be offset by 65 instead of 1. G entities 1 is going to be G entities 65. Basically, just using the entity space setup for these offsets. For the boss. And that mostly looks like it. There's these two arrays. Give them the correct name. There is an odd number of differences, which I'd like to convince myself is not going to be an issue. Let's see. So it's this player draw on line 16. This probably is also 65. So I think that was the odd one out. The rest of it, I think, is fine. So let's see. Need to give it the correct name. Okay, so one small issue. We'll have to look up what this instruction is, but we are loading the value 10, and the value 9 needs to be loaded, so not too bad, and that's it. Can we figure out where that is here? Let's look at the assembly first. It's gonna be at 39730. 39730 is the player draw. So it's off by 1. So I think I can. I think I can. Looks like not quite. That is this value here. So that was not correct. Let's get that back. I didn't notice that one being different. That one is different. So I think we're gonna have to go one more. Oh, we're way off. Way off. So let's look at the player draw struct and see what that even is. It probably is much closer, actually. There's only 10 of them. Let's try player draw 2 first, and we'll try to dial it in. Size 28. So we'll see how far that is away if we do a 2 there instead. So this may be in a very different location and not player draw at all. Hey, Entropy Gravity Well, long time. Hope everything's going good. Let's go back over here. So we're entry player draw plus 168. We know that a player draw is 28. So we'll do that math. So that should be offset 9. Well, I'm glad you're back. Crazy is good sometimes. Yeah, these are still way off. So let's look at 0A 39730 397. I think I'm gonna have to pull up the MIPS decoder and see what might be going wrong. It almost seems like it's not. Oh, what was I changing? I was changing Richter. Duh. Dumb. Okay. Oh, that one's done. Good to see. Interesting that the padding here still exists. So we see that sometimes that just there's a big chunk of the stack that gets allocated. We should probably do something with that because it's not necessary most times, just necessary. I don't even think it makes a difference on the PSP. I think it just makes a difference on the PlayStation. Would GCC get rid of this? Like a modern GCC or Clang get rid of it? I don't know. That's a good question. All right, another one done. That's it for today. A little shorter, a little different, a little late, but that's okay. We've been working on decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Still going. Still more to do. Go to soten.z to get more. Welcome back, Entropy Gravity Well. And thank you for joining Roaming and everyone else. Adios.